what do you do with these old combo amps? Well, I have, up until a couple weeks ago, have only played combos, and when it came to buying my first head, realized I need a cabinet. Well, you've got a cabinet right here. The caveat being, this crate CR212 from, I don't know, the 90s is a 4 ohm cabinet. The head I have can run either 8 or 16. So we gotta fix that, and that's what today's video is gonna be. Let's convert this 4 ohm 212 cabinet to something that my head can run. Before we get started, I cannot stress this enough. We are only gonna be monkeying with the low voltage wires on the speakers. We will not be touching anything in the head. I would encourage you to not touch anything in the head unless you are a trained amp technician. There are things in here that can kill you. Do not mess with this. Only mess with the low voltage wires coming to and from the speakers. I cannot stress that enough. With that being said, let's get started. There is one thing that I would recommend you have if you're going to try to attempt that, and that is a multimeter that can read ohms. Most speakers should have some sort of designation on the back as to what their impedance is. I would say the most common is probably like an 8 ohm speaker. This did not. So I had to try to figure out how did they get to 4 ohms, because you can either wire in series or in parallel, and it makes a difference how you wire it. I grabbed my multimeter. Oh, I'll just show you, because there's a really easy way to test. Let's flip it around. Ooh, nice and dusty too. Our starting point is going to be, what is the factory configuration from Crate or whatever brand amp you're using. Here they're designating that the way they've got it wired is 4 ohms. And we will double check that with our multimeter by just simply grabbing the jack. Also, this works a lot better if you have this style, where the speakers are connected by your 1/4-inch plug. If they're hardwired in, then maybe I wouldn't recommend doing this, but for this, unplug your jack. Next, you're going to want to take your multimeter and set it to ohms, which is that symbol there. And we're going to do 200, which is the lowest setting. Then we're simply going to take the 2 leads and attach one to the base of the 1/4-inch jack and the other to the tip. And there you'll see it's coming in right under 4. From what I've read, it'll never read exactly 4, but it might come in slightly under. Perfect. 4 ohms, just like it says. The next thing we're going to do is actually disconnect this speaker, because we know that the 2 speakers wired together is 4, and if it's wired parallel, 1 speaker by itself should be 8. Let's go back up to our multimeter. Boop, 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 boop. And we're going to test again. And sure enough, 1 speaker is coming in at just under 8, which means we've got 2 8 ohm speakers. They were wired in parallel, which reduces the ohms to 4. But I want to run both, so I have to wire these in series, which should give me 16. I should just explain quick what parallel wiring is and what series wiring is. So parallel wiring is when both speakers are set up kind of the same way. And what I mean by that is we've got our positive lead coming from the jack to the positive terminal on this speaker, The red wire then goes over to the positive terminal on the second speaker. Same with the negative. Negative from the jack, negative to this terminal, negative to that terminal. So both speakers are set up similar or in parallel. What we'll do to wire it in series is we'll actually run from the positive jack down to the positive terminal. From the negative terminal, we'll go over to the positive terminal. And from the negative terminal on the second speaker, we'll run back straight to the negative wire on the jack. So that it makes more of a loop. Positive to negative to positive to negative and back. And that will actually take our two 8 ohm speakers and give us 16 ohms, which is what I want to be at with the head that I'm going to be using. So I'll kind of start with speaker 1 here, as I'm calling it. And we're going to take our jack. We're going to leave this one. We're going to pop off. Ooh, that's kind of loose. Pop off the lead that goes to the second speaker. Okay. And then coming out of our negative, remember, we want to go from negative to positive. So we'll leave this one. We're coming out of our negative. And we actually want to go to positive. So we're going to switch these. So now our black cable goes negative from speaker 1 to positive. We're coming out of negative on speaker 2. And then this, we'll track back, coming from speaker 2, we want to connect directly back to the jack. And just for testing, I'm going to just leave that floating because I want to test it before we go any further. All right, let's go back up to our multimeter. And we'll grab our jack. There it is. So yeah, I feel good about that. Now, the next question is, this isn't long enough to get up to the head. Well, I have a solution for that too. Female to male. I think this one was like 18 inches. I would get one that's rated for carrying a speaker load and not just a guitar cable. And now I got all the extra here. Now I got all the extra space wherever that output jack is on the amp. Just look at there. Also, I did want to mention before I put everything back down on the floor, you do not have to power this cab. This combo, which used to be plugged in when you played it, doesn't have to be plugged in. This is you're just using this part right here. So the head that you use for the top, that obviously gets plugged in to wall power. You don't have to plug the combo amp in. And there you have it. Just a quick, dirty tutorial on how to switch the impedances on a speaker cab. The other thing I should mention is, if you wanted to run 8, all you have to do is just unhook one speaker, and then you have an 8 ohm impedance. The next thing I want to try to tackle is trying to incorporate this reverb tank. So I'm not sure how I can do that, because this amp did have a really good onboard spring reverb, and there's the tank there that I just nailed. But I'm not sure how to incorporate that into doing the head thing, and I don't know, maybe you can. But yeah, just a quick tutorial on speaker impedances. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.